Day 2 of ASAE TEC Virtual, and this is Associations Now Live. I'm Julie Shoup. Wherever you are, thank you for starting your day with us. This morning, we're excited to bring you a quick preview of today's coming attractions. For starters, if you just sometimes feel like breaking something, well, today's keynote session is for you. Marketing guru, TV personality, and author Bonin Bough will join us in just a few moments with his take on what he calls the Hackonomy, a new economy that encourages creating new value by breaking the way we've always done things. He'll explain how associations can cultivate that mindset and practice to drive their future success. But before Bonin joins my colleague Rashida Childress, I'd like to thank JL Systems, the sponsor of today's show. Here's a brief word from JL Systems.
Hello to all the participants in this year's ASAE Technology Exploration Conference. I'm John Danforth, President and CEO of JL Systems. We are the makers of NOAA AMS, which we have provided to associations for the past 38 years. We're very proud to announce that we are joining ASAE's Alliance Partner Program as a corporate partner. This relationship will provide invaluable insight and communication between JL Systems, ASAE, and the association marketplace to further the missions of all of our organizations through the use of our software solutions. To coincide with this, we are introducing Arwin MEP, the first fully integrated membership engagement platform. Arwin MEP includes the Arwin AMS for staff, the Arwin Web mobile responsive website for members, and the fully featured Arwin app member app for iPhones and Androids. Through these integrated portals, you can achieve the level of member engagement you have been looking for with Arwin MEP. Please go to arwinmep.com for more.
Good morning. I'm Rashida Childress, and I'm here with today's keynote speaker, Bonin Bough. Bonin has made a career of bringing brands to life in innovative ways, having thrived in the world of marketing. Bonin hosted the CNBC show Cleveland Hustles, wrote the book Text Me, and served as Chief Media and E-commerce Officer at Mondelez International, formerly Kraft Foods. Bonin, thank you for joining us. Your keynote today is called the Hackonomy. When people talk about hacking, they can envision everything from breaking into computers to generally cutting corners to solve problems. But you say hacking can be a good thing. What do you want people to think of when it comes to hacking?
The whole idea is really, when you think about it, it's, yes, I guess there can be potentially a negative connotation to the word hack. The way we use it as a hackonomy is that the world is being broken continuously. And so those that are going to win are those that can continuously not just break themselves, break their organization, but really break the process that they've become stuck in. I think if anything that we've learned over this year is that we as organizations are actually capable of tremendous things. For many years, we've talked about digital transformation, yet we were very, very slow to move. There was a great meme that said, who drove digital transformation the most? The CEO, the CMO, or COVID-19? And I think what we saw was every single organization moving at a pace that we've never seen before to transform themselves to just be able to operate. So everything from being able to do R&D remotely, being able to judge the new line remotely, being able to figure out how you're going to market and connect with teams remotely. And we transformed these organizations so quick. And the point of Hackonomy is that, well, yes, it took maybe a global pandemic to help organizations realize that they can move faster, unfortunately. But the reality is that it's inside of all of us. So how do we focus on constantly breaking ourselves? How do we hack our way to the future? How do we continuously transform who we are so that every single day we are reinventing anew?
What are some examples of ways people drive change and growth at an organization?
One of the things is there's this weird belief system that in order to get something done inside of organization, you need alignment. But the reality is that I can't even get alignment at who's going to sit where at Thanksgiving. So to think that a large organization, every single person is going to align behind a specific approach is probably not really that realistic, especially if you want to get things moving fast. So what we focus on, and one of the conversations and one of the aspects that we teach is coalition of the willing. So you don't necessarily need full alignment. I just need 4 or 5 people who believe in me, who are going to walk barefoot. And once we prove it, it'll hopefully become a religion. And so how do you find those people? Because those are going to be the supporters that are going to actually help deliver that change and are going to believe in that change and are going to stop at nothing to make it happen. The other thing I think is most people try to just focus on one piece of change that they're going to drive. In reality, I like to think of it is you have to put multiple tests into the ocean. It's almost like whack-a-mole. Like, you can't stop all of them, right? So you have to put a lot of tests into the water because some of them are going to make it through the organization. And then the last piece I would say is that you have to scale the size of the opportunity based on what you believe you can actually get over the finish line. So sometimes it's just like, let's just get them on Facebook. Let's just get them on Triller, or it's, hey, let's drop a guy out of the sky with no parachute, no wingsuit on, and hope that they land safely on this 100 by 100 foot net, which is the last thing I did for Stride Gun when I left.
In this environment, how do you keep people motivated and innovative?
Well, I think we're all being innovative, right? Like, I texted my friend the other day and said, hey, we should, it's been a long, this is towards the beginning of the pandemic. It's been a long time. We should chat. He said, yeah, I'm going to call you back right after I'm teaching first grade. So, he's not a first grade teacher. So I think that to my early point is that we've underestimated the ingenuity of the people who work inside of our organization. So people have found creative and new and innovative ways just to live their life, to continue on their business, to engage with their family, and quite frankly, to maintain their sanity. So I think that innovation, if now more than ever, we've been taught that we are very malleable and we can adapt to a changing environment very quickly. And so I think that just as leaders, constantly reminding the teams that anything is possible, that the rule book has been taken out, that we can move the needle any way we want. How do we figure out how to do things in the most different and impactful way possible? I had one of the big retail giants, the leadership, we did a call with the leadership, just kind of walk through what our thoughts are and our outlook for what the future of consumer is post-pandemic, or even during pandemic and then post-pandemic. And we talked about stores. And I basically said, but do you want stores? Like, do you really care? If you could do it all over again, would you have huge retail stores? And it stopped them, and they thought, well, what will we do with our employees? And I said, well, let me ask a question. All your sales associates today, haven't they shifted into doing video consultation? Yeah. When you ask them how it's working, don't they say it seems like it's almost more impactful than in person? Yeah. So imagine arming yourself, being the first organization that goes storeless and just focuses on building those video relationships and connections. So how can you kind of reinvent? And then in terms of keeping employees motivated, I think now is the time. I actually think what happened is that we become much more empathetic as a society and as organizations in general. I had a great conversation with one of the CMOs of the major CPG companies, and she said, I've gotten to know the people who work for me better than I ever thought I would. Because she thought she knew people, but she had never met their cat, their goldfish, their husband. She didn't see their so in a weird way, we've learned a lot about each other that we didn't know before, and it's given us a lot more empathy. And now I think the most important thing for leadership to do to keep people motivated is being honest. We just have to be honest and authentic with the people who work inside of our organization and make them understand that they are trusted, they are a piece of this organization, they're a piece of building the future of this organization. And if there are hard times, what's the honest, true plan, whether it includes them or not? And that's the hardest conversation to have. But most importantly, if it includes them, what is the plan for us to continue to see brighter days? And do they agree with it? Can they buy off on it? What are the options that we have in front of us? Have we thought about every single aspect of this plan and what could go wrong and what could work, and can we even 10x that plan? Can we 3x that plan? So I think having now honest, open, authentic conversations is what's going to keep people motivated, because the fear is the fear of not knowing. And if you give people the true grounding in trust, and that here is really what's happening, they will stay motivated.
Thanks so much for joining us, Bonin. We're looking forward to hearing you speak shortly. Next up, check out what a few attendees here at TEC think are the most promising technology tools for associations right now.
Greetings from Austin, Texas. My name is Bergen Rawson, and I serve as the Administrative Specialist of Business Systems for the EMDR International Association. So the question is, what new technology holds the most potential for associations? That's super broad, and I'm going to narrow it down to the ideal community platform. The ability for members to one-click video chat with one another or call without having to log into Zoom. That would be pretty cool. So think of Discord, but for associations. However, no installation or downloading required. A girl can dream. Thanks. Bye.
Hi, my name is Justin Berniski. I'm Director of Enterprise Solutions at FusionSpan. Thinking about technology associations need, I believe, with all the data, having a integration platform may be something that becomes essential for them going forward. And I am super excited to be watching ASAE TEC from home, assuming that my bosses don't come in and interrupt too much during the sessions. So we will see how that goes.
Daddy, I want some milk.
We're back. One challenge we hear about over and over again is that associations accumulate vast quantities of data, but they struggle to make sense of it. Data visualization is one tool for solving that problem and helping association leaders make solid data-driven decisions. In 2 learning labs today and tomorrow, our next guest will showcase some cool examples of how data stories can be told visually. Bill Conforti is Senior Vice President for Strategy and Solutions at Association Analytics. Evan Reed is Data Analytics Manager at the American Speech Language Hearing Association. Gentlemen, thank you for being here.
Thanks for the invite.
You bet. Just to share with our viewers what you're doing, later today the 2 of you will host the Data Viz Science Fair, where your guests will talk about a data-related product they've designed for their organization and the thinking and the process that went into that. And tomorrow in your Ultimate Data Championship competition, your data analyst contestants will be judged on a dashboard, each one created from the same data set. Have I got that right?
Yep.
That's right.
Both of those sound really fun. Bill, I'll start with you. I know you don't want to give too much away in advance, but generally speaking, can you tell us what features you think are important in an effective data visualization?
Yeah, sure. So I think really all of it boils down to clarity. So, first and foremost, you want to be clear on why you're building the particular visualization. You want to think about things like who is your audience, what questions do they want to answer, and then also what's their skill level with data. So you want something that's kind of fits with the skill level of your audience. And secondly, you want it to be visually clear and intuitive. So I should be able to look at it and at a glance kind of get a sense for what I'm supposed to understand and how the visualization should be interpreted. We don't want anything too complicated or too busy, right? Too many charts on a single page. We want it to be visually beautiful, but it's not really an art project, right? So if the best way to show things is with a bunch of bar charts and a bunch of line graphs, then that's what we should have, right? We want to think about that more so than how it looks on the page. And I guess the last thing is be deliberate with your use of color, right? So more is not always better when it comes to color. And generally speaking, when you're using a lot of different colors on a viz, they should be meaningful and not strictly just for the aesthetics. So I think those are the most important things.
Yeah. So bringing that into the real world, Evan, could you tell us about a way that ASAE is using visual tools to better understand its own data?
Yeah, I think there are really kind of 2 elements to that. The use of visualization really helps with data storytelling. So you can very quickly show what a data set is representing through the use of visualizations in a way that you can't really do with just a table of numbers in Excel. The second real advantage that we're seeing is that interacting with a tool like Power BI or Tableau or another kind of data visualization suite gives people a different method of interacting with their data. So instead of handing off an Excel spreadsheet where people are going through and they're adding up column A and column B and seeing what the result is, you can develop a dashboard that's interactive, that allows people to explore that data without having a real kind of technical data science-y element to that exploration.
So obviously a lot of thought and work goes into creating tools like these. And Bill, you mentioned this a moment ago a little bit. I'll ask you to sort of elaborate a little bit on what are some of the critical steps that need to be taken before you start producing the visualization, the questions you need to ask, the intention you need to have.
Sure, great question. And sometimes that's actually the hardest part. So here I'm going to talk about 2 things, 2 P's. First one is profiling. And what I mean by that is you need to kind of profile your data before you start. You need to have a good sense for what you have, what you don't, how clean is your data. Maybe there might be some transformation or something like that that has to happen before it's really useful. And for those of you that are business users, this is something you probably can get help with from some of the technical staff on your team. Second one is planning. So that you have to really plan these things out before you start developing. And first, again, is that clarity of purpose that we already talked about. So understand who the viz is for and why you're building it, who's the audience. Second is document those user stories as part of your planning process. So a good user story is going to force you to kind of put yourself in the shoes of those that are going to be using the visualization, not only what they'll use it for, but why that's important. And the last one, as part of the planning process, is actually sketch it out, right? Understand like how things are going to fit on the page. Understand that size and location is important. Like think of it like a newspaper, where the most important things are the biggest and they're kind of at the top. So if I'm not going to read past the fold, so to speak, am I really going to get the critical information that you want? So I would say those two things, profiling and planning prior to starting out, are going to be really key.
So you mentioned users. I mean, even with a great tool available, a lot of people are intimidated by data. I know I am sometimes, especially when you see this swath of numbers, and even a good data visualization can be a little bit intimidating sometimes, depending on how it's done. And they may have trouble incorporating data into their everyday work and the decisions they're making. Evan, I wonder if you can tell us how a data team can help increase other people's comfort level with data so it becomes a tool they'll use over and over again.
Yeah, definitely. And I have to give a quick shout out to the data team at ASAE. It's a really excellent group of people, and I've had a blast working with them for the past couple of years. I think a data team at an organization has three big elements that they can bring to that organization. First, they can help take the almost data element out of the reporting by separating the end users from these big messy data sets that they have to take care of and get into a data visualization tool. What's then being presented to the end users is a nice curated data exploration experience where they can work through related visualizations and they can pull knowledge out of that data, again, without having to get super technical into it. You still need to engage people and bring them into that process. And a data team can provide trainings around the use of the visualization tools, as well as some training around standard analysis practices so people feel more comfortable with their interaction with a tool like Power BI or Tableau, but also get a sense of the different types of analysis that could be presented in those tools. And finally, I've found at ASAE that the data team just provides a sense of enthusiasm around engaging with data and using data and asking questions of the data that can be hard to build when your reporting and your data analysis is really spread throughout an organization and everyone's kind of bogged down in that technical side, and less in just pulling knowledge and pulling actionable items out of the analysis.
Same question for you, Bill. Anything to add to that about how associations can develop a more data-focused mindset among staff?
Yes, thanks. It's a great question. And when we do our strategy engagements, this is probably the #1 thing that we have to deal with, because it's not necessarily about the tools, it's more about the people and the change processes and all that. So a couple of quick things. First of all, it does take some time. This won't happen overnight, so it does require some patience and some continued attention. And that should start with the senior leadership, right? Encouraging and maybe even requiring data to back up all recommendations and key decisions that are being made. Again, this will take some time, but easing into it is always a good thing. If you don't have one, you really should start some semblance of a BI project at your association, looking at data strategy, at governance, and most importantly, how to get all of your data trusted and consistent and in a central location. So, although it is more about people than tools, this is kind of one area where a tool is going to be really, really helpful.
That's great advice. Thank you both very much for taking the time to be with me today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
To get a look at the kinds of tools Bill and Evan are talking about, check out the DataViz Science Fair at 11:15 today and the Ultimate Data Championship at 2 o'clock tomorrow. Now, before we wrap up today's show, here's another short message from our sponsor, JL Systems.
JL Systems is proud to be an ASAE Alliance partner and to announce the release of R1 MEP, the first fully integrated membership engagement platform. Arwin MEP includes the Arwin AMS for staff, Arwin Web Member Portal, and Arwin App mobile app. You get free unlimited users, free unlimited records, free unlimited disk space, free support, and free upgrades, all for less than $30,000 per year. Get spot-on membership engagement with Arwin MEP. Please go to arwinmep.com for more.
That's it for today's edition of Associations Now Live. I hope you'll join us again tomorrow at 9:45. We'll talk about creativity and innovation with keynoter Josh Linkner. We'll share a few smart insights about tech-powered marketing, and we'll hear from a few attendees about how their organizations have managed the pandemic pivot. Thank you again for joining us this morning. Enjoy your day.